So it's now part 2 of the supercharger build. In a minute you'll see why I'm looking so frazzled. Did film a whole bunch of footage on this, had it running and everything else like that, and now it has ended up like this. So it's still an engine, it's still got the supercharger, it's still got the carburetor there, but it started getting really stiff to turn over, and so now I've pulled everything out, had stuck piston rings, top ones, which I've now got off and cleaned up. I'm going to clean out all of them and all of the ring lands there, and then reinstall it and make sure that it's a little bit easier to turn over. Problem is, at the minute, because of where it's sitting, I've got the right ball ache of trying to get up here and get off these hex Allen key headed nuts, Allen key headed bolts rather, that I use to install the Abarth sump, and hopefully can drop it down just enough that I can take it out without spilling the oil everywhere, because I can't compress those rings and get the barrels back on with them in situ, so the whole piston has to come out. Other than that, like, it's ready to go. We've got the belt tensioner there, carburetor's all set up, intake manifold's all set up, which we'll see again. I did go back to the drawing board and change that around from how it originally was set up, but once this all goes back together, I'm going to have to run it with the original Weber on it for a bit, because I've got to reseat the head gasket and then retighten it and retorque all the bolts down before I can start installing the rest of it. So yeah, this is my my fun and games for the next couple of hours, is getting this off, getting those pistons out, cleaning them up, re-ringing them, and then putting the whole lot back together again. So we'll pretend that the previous footage never happened, and we'll basically start again from here, because every mistake is a learning opportunity. If you were interested in how to do this, what I've done is I've taken the easiest way out possible, which is dropping the sump whilst the engine's balanced on a couple of blocks, just hand cranked it down to the lowest point, and then, as you can see, I've taken piston number 1 out, currently sitting here on the bench. The bearings look fine, as you'd expect, because it's got hardly any miles on it, but the problem was that these compression rings here were seizing up and sticking, and if you can see, there's quite a lot of carbon deposits in the ring lands or the ring grooves here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean all of those up before I reinstall the compression rings there, and then all I'll have to do is to compress them with a piston ring compressor, which I'll show you when I get there, and pop them back into the barrels, which are currently sitting over there. No scratches on the inside, which is nice. And once I've got both of them back into the barrels, I'll then drop the barrels on there and then tighten up and torque down the pistons from underneath. That way I don't have to flip the engine on its head or take off most of the tinware. So these are now cleaned up and put back in. I've arranged them so that the gaps are roughly every sort of third of the way around the circumference of the piston there for sealing. They do wander around slightly as they move up and down the cross hatching. There was quite a lot of coke on the outside and quite a lot of coke on the inside actually, which is probably because it's been running rich at some point. Now, whilst I've done a lot of work and cylinder head work to this, I've never had the bottom end parts. It's the first time I've actually seen these pistons full stop, so could have been like that since long before I bought it, which was many years ago. But anyway, that should now seal a lot better. Because it's going on a boosted application, I have filed a little bit off the piston rings just to increase the gap ever so slightly. I'm not talking about a huge amount, there is a formula for it. Can't off the top of my head remember what that formula is, so I haven't used it. I've just eyeballed it and they're all the same, and hopefully we won't lose too much compression, but equally, like, you need a little bit of extra ring gap for boosted application. So in a second I'll go and get the ring compressor, we'll compress this, get it into the barrels and just check that it all moves smooth. So that's the ring compressor on, that's the barrel there ready to install. I don't have enough hands to do this and film this, so I'll pop that in there without filming it. And there's completely assembled cylinder number 1, barrel, piston, conrod. I've put the end cap on so that I don't lose the orientation of it, and now what I've got to do is exactly the same for the other side, but I'm not going to bother filming it, it's precisely like that, and then I'll put it all back together. As is becoming par for the course for this clearly cursed project, ran into a couple of problems, so there's been yet another little bit of a delay. I broke a piston ring when I was re-ringing the cylinder number 2, so I had to order an entire new set of those. However, they are now installed. I have reinstalled the sump down there. I've actually gone slightly differently this time. I did a bit of modifications to it, and I've got it in with some sealant and some more sort of locking washers on there so it won't leak anymore. I've done a little oil service on the oil filter there, and I've now reconnected the exhaust. I've reset the valve timing, and it's now ready to warm up before I then torque the head bolts back down again. So in order to warm it up, because I don't want to reconnect all the tinware and then take everything apart again, all I'm doing is I'm sticking the original Weber carb on there. Doesn't have any gasket, so it's probably going to be chock full of air leaks, but at the very least it should allow it just beg pardon, just to warm up and then torque down those head bolts, and then I'll be able to reinstall the supercharger, and we'll go for the video first start. So I've now run a couple of fuel bowls through it to try and get it up to temperature. As you can see, my nice safety first exhaust extractor out here, so that I don't sit in here breathing all the fumes in. And as a bonus, we've started getting the nice bronzy colour appearing on the stainless header pipes there, which looks quite cool. And I didn't have too many fingerprints on them, so that's good. So I'll let this cool down now, and then I will retighten all of the head bolts, and then take that carb off and reinstall the tinware with the supercharger, which, as you can see, has been very carefully stored, laying on the floor down there. Okay, so now it's been warmed up and re-torqued down, I've put the basic structure back together. So we've got the SU on there, we've got the supercharger here, we've got the new sort of second test soft pipe to hard pipe arrangement there, which I think leaks a bit of air around there, so we'll look out for fuel spray, but it'll be good enough for now. And I've now sat it down on the floor, so I'll install my elfin safety pipe there. I'll just retighten these where the headers have been run, and I'll connect up the fuel line and the choke, and we'll see whether or not we can get this running, hopefully. And I don't have the actual belt tensioner in here, and it's just rubbing on the engine mount there that is responsible for my swollen, weirdly broken finger from the other week. But we'll leave it for the minute, and then I'll measure up for a proper belt, and I'll be able to put my belt tensioner on there, at least by having it around here. We've got the engine fan running, which is a little noisy because it does tap slightly until it clearances itself, because yeah, top quality engineering there. Okay, so let's see whether we can get this started now. We know that it technically runs, so if it doesn't run now, it's a fueling issue up there. Well, there you go, proof of concept is working. The reason why it stumbled a little bit under throttle there is because, as I expected, vibrations cracked the joint here. So I need to look at a more permanent solution for this pipe into the head. But we didn't seem to have any boost leaks around here where I thought that there would be. Gonna put a triangulated mount onto here, so I'll run something off the back there, just bolted and welded to the head, just to triangulate that, and that will stop that from vibrating there and get rid of some of the air leaks. We've got a bit of heat here, friction, because of where the belt is rubbing on there. As expected, the whole belt is a little bit warm, which is then transferred to the bearings on that. It's not to do with it being too tight, but what we've got is a functioning supercharger setup, and it seems to run fine on that SU there. So we'll call that done for today, because I wanted to have a running engine by the end of this video, and I've got a running engine by the end of this video. As with everything hot rodish, needs a few tweaks, and there will be some updates on those tweaks once they're done. Once I've got a belt that's the right size and a tensioner, once I've made the triangulation point there, and once I've decided what I'm going to do with this, I suspect what I'm going to do is create a metal plate that I will weld to this and then bolt to here and seal on, so that way there's nothing to break, because that was just JB welded in place, which, to be honest, is a little bit shit. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed.